Alabama class on National Signing Day is historic. But first, welcome back, Sage.
Thank you. Good to be back with you, Kev.
And thankfully, Woj has not reported a trade involving you or me.
Yet? I know, we still have about a day. Don't say that. It is officially crunch time in the NBA. T-minus 21 hours until the trade deadline hits. The biggest question is, will the Pelicans trade Anthony Davis? We are monitoring everything for you. Here are the biggest names, starting with AD. We got the clock ticking for you. The Lakers still have not been able to strike a deal for him with the clock still ticking. The Lakers want him. He's been nursing a finger for the last 2 weeks. Will not play tonight versus Chicago. More on that in just a second. How about Memphis? It looks like the grit and grind era may officially be coming to a close. Marc Gasol was a late scratch against the Timberwolves last night as the trade talks did pick up. The three-time All-Star center has played all 11 of his NBA seasons in Memphis. And so has Mike Conley, all 12 years in Memphis. The point guard for the Grizzlies. He and Gasol, the longest tenured teammates in the NBA. Conley, again, may have played his final game last night. He had 25 points and 9 assists in the win over Minnesota. Meantime, let's go to the nation's capital. The Wizards may be looking for a fresh start after the John Wall injury news. Swingman Otto Porter Jr. could be on the move in an effort to free up some cap space this summer. So let's go back to Anthony Davis. He originally requested a trade on January 28th. Since then, the Lakers have continued to improve their offer to New Orleans. But earlier today, our Adrian Wojnarowski reported that the Pelicans still have not responded to the Lakers' most recent trade proposal for him. Tonight, the Pelicans are at the Bulls. Earlier, head coach Alvin Gentry was asked if AD would be available for tonight's game. Listen.
Is Anthony available to play tonight?
He is, but we're not going to play him until after the trading deadline. I think you can understand that. I think everybody can understand that.
Is there an eagerness to get through these next 24 hours or so?
That might be the understatement of the year. But, yeah, I mean, I think everything kind of clears up after that, you know, at least for a while. And you can go back to, you know, I guess what normal or whatever our new normal is going to be, you know. So it's just part of it, you know. I mean, it's part of the business, and you just, you know, you deal with it just like you would anything else.
It is part of the business. Boy, does Alvin Gentry have a really good attitude about this. Adrian Wojnarowski joins us now. Let's see, AD, he's made it clear where he wants to play. The Lakers, they just haven't been successful getting what they want for AD, or the Pelicans haven't heard what they want yet. How much movement has there been on this, Woj?
Really very little to none. And the Lakers have been getting this sense all week that New Orleans just doesn't want to negotiate with them, will not do a deal with them. Now, the Lakers are going to continue, you know, to try to figure out a way to see if there's an opening there with the Pelicans between now and 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. But there's a long way to go. If all of a sudden the Pelicans decided to engage with the Lakers, this would be a complicated multiplayer trade, draft picks and protections on picks. Those things don't come together very quickly. They take time, and they're running out of time.
We look at the bottom of the screen there, all that they have offered. I mean, you said it. It sounds like they don't want to deal with the Lakers. Why would that be?
Well, ultimately, they can get into the offseason with Anthony Davis and have several more avenues of trade possibilities, including the Boston Celtics. And, you know, the Lakers, you know, they probably would be willing to get to 3 first-round picks, I'm told. Right now, they've offered 2, but the Lakers were to a point where they felt like they were just bidding against themselves, and they weren't going to keep upping the ante without New Orleans giving them some direction, telling them what it would take to get a deal done. And without New Orleans saying this would get a deal done, I don't know that the Lakers' offer is going to improve again.
Okay. That's still ticking. We shall see. It was an emotional night in Memphis last night as basically Grizzlies fans said goodbye to Gasol and Conley. How close are the Grizzlies to finding a place for these two stars?
Well, they've been talking really for the last week to 10 days seriously with several teams. You know, Marc Gasol, you know, Charlotte for him, they talked last night, talks got a little more serious into today, trying to figure out what package of players would come back from the Hornets. I think there's no question there would be a first-round pick with protections in it coming to Memphis. And then Mike Conley Jr., this for them is a little bit more complex of a deal. He's got $67 million owed to him over the next 2 years. You know, Utah is a team that has some interest. You know, certainly at point guard, you know, he matches up with the kind of team they have, and they're willing to. Utah would be willing to pay that money over the next couple of years. But even those talks haven't gotten serious yet. I expect they'll get those two teams will re-engage here between now and Thursday's deadline.
It does feel like the end of an era, certainly in Memphis, and those two, the longest tenured teammates in the NBA. Woj, we're staying tuned.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Well, while you were sleeping, Woj was dropping knowledge at 2 in the morning. The Sixers acquired Tobias Harris hours after he scored 34 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, dished out 5 dimes, and delivered the game-winning shot over the Hornets. The deal is a 6-player trade with the Clippers, giving Philly the best starting 5 on paper in the East. Harris was an all-star snub, the power forward averaging 21 points per game, shooting 42% from 3. And the Clippers received 3 bench players, featuring first-round pick Landry Shamet, who has been a reliable shooter, and 2 future first-round picks. And one of those picks is a highly coveted, unprotected 2021 first-rounder from the Heat. Harris can be an unrestricted free agent this summer. According to Woj, the Sixers plan on signing Harris and Jimmy Butler this offseason. So how does Vegas view the trade for the Sixers? They like it. Philly's chances to win the East have drastically improved as the Sixers move from the 4th best odds all the way up to a tie for 2nd with the Raptors. And that's created a lot of buzz around here.
Does the Tobias Harris acquisition make Philly #1 in the East?
No. This move, I just can't say enough about it. The Clippers did a hell of a job here.
Talented-wise on a roster in the starting lineup, they right up there with the best of them. Sure. You add him to your roster, that is legitimate for all-stars.
What makes the Raptors and the Bucks better is cohesion. They actually play hard on a nightly basis and have an identity.
With the talent that Elton Brand, Scott O'Neal, and those boys have facilitated him getting, there is no excuse. We got to look at Brett Brown here. Last comment. You know what the biggest thing about all of this is? Boston and Toronto are on the clock.
Tick, 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 tick. Great to have Doris Burke join us with much more on this trade. What do you make of this fit of Harris, Embiid, Simmons, and Butler on the floor?
Boy, Kevin, very similar to last year. Their starting 5 becomes formidable. And right away, Tobias Harris does a couple of things that Brett Brown talks often about. Number 1, he relieves some pressure off of J.J. Redick. Now you put Joel Embiid and J.J. Redick in a 2-man game, and you space the other side of the floor with a knockdown shooter who, oh, by the way, is 43% from 3-point territory. And boy, oh boy, life becomes a little bit easier in that 2-man game. The other thing, and Brett talks about this often, with those 2 young players, with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, sometimes an awkward fit. What you always need, Kevin, is spacing, and Tobias Harris legit on both ends and provides that necessary spacing.
Right now, the Sixers are the only team in the NBA right now to have 5 players averaging at least 17 points per game. So after this trade, where do you put the Sixers in the East?
Well, first of all, I don't know that they're done. Let's see if they can get richer in the buyout market, or I believe they might have one more roster spot. So I believe it has improved their chances. What the Raptors and Celtics have on their roster with Kyrie Irving and with Kawhi Leonard are 2 NBA champions with talent around, and there is some measure of consistency and continuity. Will the shot distribution situation for the Philadelphia 76ers, which has been an issue, work itself out over the final 30-plus games, right? You had 2 guys publicly wondering about where their shots were. And to me, Milwaukee is going nowhere in terms of that top spot in the East and positioning for playoff. Why? Because you have an MVP candidate. They are top 5 offensively and defensively, and I believe Milwaukee finishes with the best record in the East, if not the league.
Yeah, Giannis is the perfect fit. He has the perfect parts around him. Bucks, Wizards tonight on ESPN. Part of the crossover here, Doris Burke, Jay Billis, and Ryan Rucco can't wait on ESPN. Thank you, Doris.
Thanks, Kev.
What he has to do in order for his team to win championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships. But at the same time, you have to keep your team's head above water to win games. So you have to do what you have to do to win games, and he's doing that.
So are you saying you don't think James Harden and the Rockets, as constructed, can win a title?
Not with this style of play, it won't win.
I mean, I have to be ball dominant just because we had the injuries throughout the course of the year. So, I mean, for right now, he's probably right. You know, this way that we're playing won't happen in the play. It won't get us to where we want to go. But we haven't had a full roster yet, so I'm excited for that to come.
I love it. He's honest about it. So, and he's as ball dominant as they get. On pace to have the 2nd highest usage rate in NBA history behind Russell Westbrook during his MVP season. Of course, Harden last year's MVP. Of the 7 other highest usage seasons, none of the players won a single playoff series. So numbers, they don't lie. Our PTI crew swings this topic back to Kobe now and his comments about defending the MVP.
All right, Wilbon, do you read Kobe's words as praise or criticism of James Harden?
I just read him as a statement of fact. to the point where Harden didn't try to disagree. And Kobe says, you can't play this way and win in the playoffs.
Right.
He's right. And Harden knows that. The Houston Rockets know that, Tony. Now, some of this is made necessary by Chris Paul, who you know I still think is the most important player on the Rockets. Not the best player, but the most important. They're going without him. They didn't do it last year when they had a chance. Eric Gordon is kind of back, kind of mostly, and Clint Capella's out, and he's critical to what they do. So I understand that Harden has to play this way now. But, Tony, when you can game plan for a guy in the playoffs without back-to-back and you have film study and practice, that ain't going to work. And it also doesn't work because you don't have the kind of energy in May and June that you have in November and December and January when you make that run and people play defense on you and those calls aren't made. So, no, you can't play like that. And Kobe's just stating the obvious.
So I would like to state for the record that I love Kobe Bryant and have always loved Kobe Bryant. But I'd also like to state for the record that anytime Kobe talks about anybody else in public, it is designed to make you understand and to remind you that Kobe was better than them. And when Kobe talks about James Harden and he mentions James Harden specifically, he wants you to know, hey, I'm better than James Harden. I just want to get that out there. Yeah. And I don't, as you, don't disagree with a single word that Kobe Bryant said.
Real quickly, Harden's averaging 24 shots a game right now. Michael Jordan in his championship years was a 22 to 23 shots per game guy. Kobe was like a 21 shot per game guy in title years. So Harden is going to have to, Tony, the ball is going to be shared more, and more folks are going to have to take more shots from more spots in order to win.
There's a difference in those shots.
What?
When James Harden gets the ball, he keeps the ball.
He does.
The others didn't always do that.
Not always. That's it. We're done. Back to you.